In today's reading, we'll be answering the question, what are people's first impressions of you? So let's jump right into it. Also, just before we get started real fast, I just want to let you know that at the end of this, we will be pulling charms. We will also be talking more about your crystals. So, Spirit, what are people's first impressions of pile 1? I'm getting like Rapunzel vibes, locked up in a tower sort of vibes, needing to be rescued at a point in time. I think maybe your childhood, okay, this is going to seem like it's coming out of left field because I've just been kind of channeling to myself here, but so I'll sort of unpack this a little bit, but I think what I'm picking up here on is your childhood, specifically maybe your teen years, where you were left to sort of bold and daring adventures and whims because you lacked nurturing at home. And I feel like at home there's quite a bit of wealth. Maybe not, I do feel like it's financial wealth, or like I feel like it's not just like new money. I feel like it's I'm feeling like old money, you know, like castle, living in a castle, and you might not see cash like exchanging hands everywhere, but you definitely are surrounded by the value of everything. And despite how wealthy your family seems in that sense, it's like you were lacking, or you still have like this lack of, you still deal with lack of stuff. And one of them I think is nurturing. And I feel like you sort of also have many options and opportunities that you face, and maybe you feel like your family is pushing you towards like one specific thing, and it almost feels like a forced destiny. I feel like your position is like house on a hill, and like you're even on a hill and on a pedestal and on a throne, and in your own way in your position, but it's like with some situation that you're facing, and I think it's to do with all these options in your family. It's to do with all the options you have ahead of you, and then I think the option your family is pushing you towards is kind of making you want to not look at that option that you're kind of being pushed towards, but sort of at all your other options. And I think, maybe that was also expressed a little bit with that bold and daring energy. Perhaps it seems you've expressed, and still honestly it seems like you contain within you, but maybe you express it differently. But I get the sense that you were exploring dangerous, maybe even whims as a teen child. So just adventurous, but maybe because you were lacking nurturing at home, or lacking supervision or options, true options. Because I think if you didn't feel like you were being forced into this avenue so much, and other options were presented to you, I think you would have felt like you had more knowledge, and maybe you would have decided to do some actions differently because you did do some stuff. These whims, they were alone, they were isolated moments of naive momentum. And I think your life in general is quite isolating, or isolates you, and it makes you feel like a fish out of water, maybe amongst your peers. But you're positioned quite well despite that. Despite the fact that, You felt isolated. You are positioned quite well. But yes, I definitely think you have like a wild spirit about you, and I think maybe your circumstances is what maybe initially you believe pushed you towards your daring decision making as a teen. But I think it's actually something that's within you. I think you have a wild flame within you. I think you're an untamed energy, and I think you need a lot of stimulation as well. I think you're very capable and very is ept the word? Let me look at, is ept the word? Okay, I think I just made it my own word. I was thinking of like when people say inept to mean like incapable or unknowing. I was thinking like ept to mean the opposite of that, but I guess I don't think that's a word. I don't guess, but I think your family might view you as a figure that's like wild and like maybe like a problematic figure and someone that has a lot of problems, and they're maybe viewing you as like, oh, why won't they just take this option that's right in front of their face, or it's right in front of them, and they almost maybe are like, I don't know why your family take over this. I get the sense that you have like I feel like you're very involved with your family, and people's first impressions are sort of like the role that people's first impressions of you are like you're destined to have some sort of role, and it's almost like destined through like your heritage, or destined through like when a crown is handed down to a child, the heir, HEIR, I believe that is heir. I think you're like really coming back to this capability though, you are very capable. You are like you're not like a magician, you are a magician. It's really impressive. I think you make change happen. Like, you can make change happen. Okay, I just got distracted by the candle because I think that's about to go out. Let me swap that out real fast. I think one of the things about you is you learn by doing, and that means even like in throwing yourselves in like a pit of alligator. I don't think you'd literally throw yourself in a pit of alligators, but like I think you don't have fear. Like, you have courage. You have a lot of courage, and I think people look at your courage. People that don't have courage look at your courage, and they're like, why are they doing this? How could they do that? What are they thinking? Ah! And I think that's like, and I do think you get burned, and you get baked, and you get like, you are scarred up by this, but that doesn't like, if anything, you're just like, the scars don't faze you, and like, you're not even like, oh, look at the scar, or like, oh, my scars, my wounds, you're just like, you're completely facing forward, and if anything, you're like, you don't pay attention, the scars might as well not even exist, because, whoa, okay, so, that's interesting. I think you're very vibrant, though, and, you remind me, I'm getting, like, the image of Jack and Rose on the Titanic when they're like dancing in the boat. How he's kind of just not, I don't want to say living life on a whim for you, because that's not like the totality of the picture here, but the energy of what I'm picking up on is like how he's just able to get the ticket for the boat and connect with Rose and dance the night away and play cards and like all these things, and like that's you. Like, you're so adventurous. It's like amazing. And I think you kind of take life, like, I don't know if this is, like, the word, but by a storm. Let me look this up. I guess that can have some negative connotations, so I don't mean it in that sense. I just mean, like, you capture life, and, like, you are very successful at that. You definitely are just someone that doesn't back away or shy away from challenges. I would say, charge into them, and, like, I almost feel like for life feels like something to mold for you. Like, I get the image of someone like blowing a trumpet, and let me stop the camera right there. We'll reset our time cycle and have a fresh start at this so we have more time. So give me just a moment. Pile one, like I was saying, you are like a trumpet player on like a battlefield, and I feel like really you are also the battle. You're the trumpet player. You're the people coming in, and I feel like kind of you're trumpeting yourself into life, and like I feel like you really show up for life, and yeah, you really just make your. I feel like you choose your own battles. You make your own battles. You are like a warrior, but like a prestigious warrior in that sense, you know, because you're not just picking battles, and like you're very strategic about it. You're very strategic about it. And before we get deep into this reading, let me just make sure the camera's in focus and all that. Just another message real quick, Pile One. So I feel like you need to take some time to rest and recuperate and nurture yourself. Nurture yourself regularly. Rest regularly. I think kind of something that's coming through for your pile is the need for routine with when it comes to nurturing yourself. And I think you know, all this rebellion that you've sort of had, and I don't mean that in like a bad sense, you know, because maybe you've not really been battling. Maybe you've not intentionally been like, oh, I'm rebelling in this way. I'm going against this. But maybe it's been more in a sense, I get it's more in the way that it's like you have no choice because you feel like you're being forced to do something. So to just be yourself is an act of rebellion. I feel like it's like that. You know, I feel like that was all necessary for you, Pile One, because I think you're meant to be in the spotlight, and I think all these acts are actually moments of clarity, or in hindsight you have clarity. The all this chaos actually creates a sturdy foundation for you. But I think you do need to be warned, you know, but I think this is something you are already learning. But getting into the warning, you in your reading there's a warning about overstepping boundaries, a reminder of unintentional consequences. Unintentional consequences. So I'm feeling like maybe, you know, in times when things are so granted for us, we may take things for granted. But yes, you know, I really feel like the rest that you need will prevent these manifestations, these negative manifestations that are possible timelines. Like taking what's granted to you for granted. For example, that's a possible timeline. You know, the rest is what will help you avoid that. You need rest. You need nurturing. You were lacking that, and I think you have built a sturdy foundation in some senses because you were lacking the nurturing, and then you went and rebelled in whatever sense that was for you as a teen child, and now you have this sturdy foundation, and maybe it's just a confidence because you have some abilities or some options because of your abilities or just options, and you have a platform of your own, a throne of your own, and like a crown of your own, really. And but I feel like even with all, you know, you built all that, but you didn't build all that around nurturing. You didn't really nurture yourself. That's not how you rebelled. You didn't rebel by doing sheet masks so hard. um so like you have all this foundation, and now you need to come back with this foundation and nurture yourself, but you have the tools to do that, I think, now. And I think now also you're realizing that's what you're lacking. Maybe back when this journey began you didn't have that clarity of what you were lacking or not. So Spirit, what are people's first impressions of Pile One? I'm getting people's first impressions are possibly like also that you have like pretty privilege or just privilege from your status. Like you automatically receive justice and maybe even undue justice. Like people think maybe everything goes your way. You know, maybe they don't account for all the struggles you've been through because you look so put together. I'm getting like clean girl aesthetic for some people, but also I just think in general everybody that chose this deck just looks really nice and put together. Also, I'm channeling this song called Carnage, I believe. Let me look it up. I'm getting the lyrics from this song. It's carnage, it's carnage. No, I don't play nice. Thought I wouldn't bite. Running for your life, carnage, it's carnage. And I'm getting chills as I read that. It's by Jasmine Bean. And I feel like maybe people, you feel like people, it's almost, I'm getting chills, pile one. I feel like people have, like, in your life, you've felt like almost ancient Rome battles between, like, empires within your own social circles against your power. And, like, for a long time, you didn't realize people were, like, so out to get you, or, like, so out to challenge you, or so threatened by you. You didn't realize these things. I think you're so full of love, and you're so pure, and you don't intend to take from anyone else. You certainly are not out to do that. You're out to make for your own, only take of your own, and just even with all this stuff you're granted, I think, the biggest thing for you is you want to make something of yourself for yourself. And, I don't want to say by yourself, but kind of by yourself. Like, you don't want things just handed to you, and you certainly don't want to just be handed something that was chosen for you, for sure. But I feel like, all this talk of destiny, like destiny. I just heard the line from Get 'Em to the Greek when a character off that movie is like, Destiny, and that's my name. And she's like talking. This girl has like, okay, I won't go into that. I don't know how much I can go into this character. I think you do feel like you have a destiny. It's just not this one that's being forced upon you. Like, there's all these destiny options around you, and like, you have one that's being sort of pushed on you, and like, you're sort of like, I'm getting the image of someone being like forced to swallow something out of a cup. Like, it's a fantastic opportunity, and I think that's why people are like, why aren't you taking this? You're insane. You're insane. You must be insane, because a sane person would take this opportunity and just shut up. And I think you're like, I don't want anything to do with that opportunity. So, yeah, wow. Okay, so let's look into our little resource book here for some more info if we can. So another thing is I feel like you have been, moving a concrete pillar that is anchored into, like, the ground. Okay, what I mean by that is, like, I feel like you have been moving the immovable in your life, and maybe that's why all these acts of rebellion. And that one, you are so impressive. You're so impressive, and like, you are courageous. And I am trying to think of the word, but it's like, I'm in awe at your efforts in life. You have a lot of hope. You act with a lot of speed, and that's why, you have wounds, you have bites, you have scars, you have these things. But, you, like I said, you have a destiny, you feel like. So these things don't fear. You don't live in fear. You're not living in fear of how your path has wounded you. You don't even look at it like wounds. If anything, these are all things that have brought you closer to where you're going. So I get the sense that even if you are not a spiritual person, that you're spiritual in the sense that you feel like you're fated for something, even if you don't know what it is. Like, you feel like you are meant for something. You feel like you have a purpose. You have an energy of purpose within you. And I think, these rebellion acts have been sort of like nudging you towards finding that purpose, because you just knew, if you didn't know what it wasn't the thing that you were being pushed towards. So, yeah, I think you had to, defend almost your innocence. That's crazy. I feel like you have really had to defend your innocence. I feel like you've had a lot of acts of jealousy, a lot of quarrels, and it's to do with family. And I get the sense that you're, at this point, very alone, but I think it's strategic, and I don't think that you're lonely. Okay, because there is a difference in those two. It's like a hermit mode where you're like half out. So it's like half in, half out hermit mode. And I'm getting the image of this painting. It's called the Flammarion. I have no idea how to say this, but it's, I will pop a quick photo in here. Basically, the image is a person that has their head sort of halfway in and halfway out of the firmament. And I forget where I was going with that point. Maybe it'll come back up, but I feel like that was just a relevant image to you. So maybe you just needed to know about that painting to, feel heard through that, or it's relevant to this reading. On the bottom of this deck, we have dungeon, confinement, shadow work, transformation. Oh, yes, yes, yes. So what I was talking about with this firmament painting, with you being half in, half out, you're like in this hermit mode, but you're not in this hermit mode, because it's like I feel like you're in this hermit mode, but you're doing work actually. And I know hermit mode's about introspection and work anyways, but it's like you're not actually just doing work in isolation. You're actually doing work to put yourself out there, and you do put yourself out there, but then you immediately come back to your hermit. So it's like you're in it, but you're not in it. And it reminded me of the engraving painting, or I guess, it's not a painting. It might be actually an engraving. I'm not really sure what the original medium is, but yeah. So that's like, I feel like the state that you're sort of in as far as like your work and your action goes right now, is like you're really keeping to yourself, and like you are putting yourself out there, but it's just to put yourself out there in strategic ways to get the work, or whatever it is out there, only out there that you want out there. Everything else, you immediately take back. Like, I feel like you've called all your energy to you, and you're sort of keeping it right now, and it's for good reason and good measure, and it's going to serve you well, and it is serving you well currently, but it will continue to in the future. So I think that's a good move for you, Pile 1, and one that you should stick to. The quote on this we have, "In the depths of the dungeon, shadows stir and secrets wait. Face the darkness within to unlock the strength and wisdom that leads to your liberation." The angel number on this card is 9, talking about completion and culmination of a cycle, nearing completion and culmination of a cycle as well, confronting challenges and releasing what no longer serves you. So in any ways that you are not fully complete, maybe and you're only near completion, maybe releasing things the rest of the way is what will get you the rest of the way in those senses. I also think what was given to you in terms of like the package of what the world was by your family, or like those around you, you were sort of like disgusted or uninterested in it entirely, or like completely put off by it, and you're sort of sick of it or tired of it, or you were at one point, and I think at this point maybe you're just numb to it and you have no interest in it at all. You never did, but maybe at one point though you were disgusted actually with it, and I think you're on the search still, for something new. But I think you need to assess what you have as options in front of you. And I'm not saying return to the option as it is whole, like in as is, but it's like, maybe return to an option and modify it so that it's yours. I think you have a lot of authority in your life and a lot of autonomy, and it's something that allows you to lean on security. Despite all these expectations, I think you do have support and foundation from your family enough to, they may not understand you and you might get backlash in that sense, but someone, and I feel like a specific person, supports you enough, even if not in word, they support you enough so that you can lean on yourself. And I don't know what that means for you, Pile 1, but because that sounds sort of paradoxical, because they're supporting you, so how are you just leaning on yourself? But I feel like they position you in a way to where you can lean on yourself. They help you do that, because maybe otherwise you wouldn't be able to do that with where you're positioned solely alone right now. And it's like this person wants to help you, and I think they have respect for you and maybe awe for you, and I think this person has like a very endearing attitude. They feel very endearing towards you. And I think because you've had like a lot of emotions tied up in this circumstance with these acts of rebellion over time, okay, because it's been like over time, not just like, and I think the rebellions have been small and little and sometimes grand, but here and there, and sometimes a big thing, but here and there. And I think because of that, you've built up this solid foundation, yes, but it's like also there's a lot of emotions tied to the circumstances, so it also creates confusion because of all the emotions tied to the circumstance. I think people think, they look at you and they're like, how could you be so sad? You have all this wealth. How could you be so solemn? You have all these opportunities to be so happy about, or you have all these I'm hearing find pieces of art around you. And, I just think you're looking at it differently than others. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's your truth. I just think people don't understand that, basically. But I want to get some more cards for you, Spirit. Pile 1, we have angel number 1010. Divine timing. All is unfolding as it should. Trust the timing. Awakening. 1111. Spiritual doors are opening. Pay attention. Growth. 12. You are evolving. Keep learning and growing. Okay, and just so you know, this isn't a deck of like just angel numbers. Okay, this is like there's like a lot of words, and I've never had this happen. Like, you have a spiritual team behind you. Okay, and my third eye is literally aching right now. I have two things I need to talk about. The first thing is speaking about your destiny. Like, I get like you're remember how I told you're spiritual without being spiritual, perhaps, and I almost feel like, how like a princess's journey, and I'm not saying you are a princess, although you kind of are, not to be in a gendered way, but you're definitely, you have that quality about you, but I don't mean you're a female or a male. In a princess cartoon, like her journey feels so like spiritual. That's how your journey feels like. If it feels spiritual, even if you're not, it feels that way. When I was calling in, like clearing the space for this, I felt the room just rush in with figures. Like I literally feel like I'm reminded of that tomb. It's called the Terracotta Army, and it was a collection of like sculptures found within, I think it was a tomb, but it was like a regal person's tomb, an emperor of China. And it was like how in Egypt, I think they like pack all these treasures into the like burial room. It was like that, but in China, and they had like all these grand, it's so crazy. If you haven't seen it, it is so grand. You have to check it out. If I can, I'll also include that here. But getting back to your cards, like just having this many angel numbers is insane. I've never had this happen. Okay, wow. And okay, let's just get through these because this is so crazy. On the bottom of the deck here, by the way, we have Solitude, Archangel Orifiel. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's Orifiel. In Solitude, you'll find clarity, seek quiet wisdom. Coming back to your cards, though, we have Abundance Flow, 8888. Abundance is flowing to you in many forms. Alignment, 2020. Maybe 2020, the year, was a significant year for you as well. You're on the right path. Stay balanced. Fulfillment, 1919. You're nearing your goal. Keep the faith. Opportunities, 2121. New doors are opening. Be ready. Motivation, 2323. Stay focused. Your hard work will pay off. I feel like you are very tired. And that's coming back to this discussion of you needing to rest. You needing to take the time to recuperate. You needing the time to reflect. This is for your own benefit. This is for your own good. And this is what blew my mind a second ago. We are landing on a card that signifies guidance. All this, and I'm telling you, you have all these angels around. You truly do. But we're landing on a card for Archangel Sariel. Sariel. This archangel deals with guidance. Seek divine guidance. You are being led. Talk to your angels. You can talk to the universe. Like, whatever you need to. You can do it in your head. You can do it aloud. You can, whatever you need. Whatever you need, just talk aloud. And maybe this feels like to you, if you're not spiritual, just talking to yourself. That's fine. That's fine. And then listen to yourself. I want to pull from one more deck that I was being called towards. I think you have a lot of intuition, and you might even, I think that's why you might need the periods of rest to recuperate, to reflect. And I think that's partly what this half hermit, half not hermit thing is because you're actually, it may not seem like it in these half hermit parts, but you're actually totally unhermit. It's just you need those hermit parts to recuperate for the times that you're not hermiting. So it's all to be unhermited. It's not really, I hope you're getting that. I think you are. I think you have a concentration, though, of energy around, like, your psychic abilities right now. Like, you're really leading yourself. I think you're listening to your intuition, maybe more than ever. And I think you're just getting attuned to that now. But make sure you're thanking the universe. Anytime you're interacting with the universe and it's giving you what you're asking for, thank it. Thank yourself. Just think. Be grateful. And, just be thankful. And listen. And meditate. Meditate. And you need to relax because I get the sense that you're really tense. So I want to pull from... And I'm getting actually... Now one more deck is calling me to it. So we will pull from 2 more decks just real fast. And then I will leave you guys alone. I'm just kidding. I definitely, I'm getting the image of like a secretary that's like popping her head into like a boss's door and being like, you're busy? Oh, I need to tell you something real fast. Oh, but I'm bothering you. Like, I totally feel, and you don't make people feel like they are a nuisance, but people do feel like they are bothering you, kind of. I feel like people feel like they're getting in your way, but it's not like in a bad way. It's just like, you seem so important, and like what you're working on seems so important. Spirit, what are people's first impressions of pile 1? Can you offer some more cards for clarity and make the card flip or fly out? So, pile 1. We have Prison Compass Book. And this is just coming back to me of this imagery of like dungeon and dragon and princess trapped in a tower and like Rapunzel. And I'm getting the image also of like someone reading books in prison. And it's like in this dungeon circumstance, I think, in this act of rebellion and all these things that we've talked about. And like, I think I'm coming to a point where I'm like realizing in very simple terms what we're discussing is your behavior of turning lemons into lemonade. And it's like, I think you were, you may have felt like you were in a prison or trapped in this dungeon or whatever, or trapped to a destiny, confined to a destiny, chained to a destiny. You were actually finding little acts of liberation within that. Even though things were immovable, you were moving the immovable. And it's like, just wow, pile 1. So let's go over the descriptions on these cards, so hopefully you can get some more information out of this. So we have prison, a need for escape, feeling trapped, restricted, or limited in some aspect, feelings of guilt or shame, a warning to avoid making consequences that could lead to negative consequences. Oh, a warning to avoid making choices. So, what's interesting here, pile 1, is I feel like, you didn't have the room to make choices for yourself. And that's sort of what the moving the immovable is these acts of rebellion. You sort of didn't have the space to rebel. So, I feel like you were like making choices like the least worst of 2 bad options, or you were navigating consequences instead of choices because you didn't have the space for choices in your life. For compass, we have looking for direction, associated with a sense of exploration and adventure, a desire to know where you are. And I think that's actually what those acts of rebellion are. I don't think, I talked about that earlier. I don't think those were acts of rebellion like you were like trying to be malicious or literally rebellious. I think you were just trying to find your way. This is a message, though, to possibly consider a direction you are not yet aware of. So something to consider as well, pile 1. And with the final card in this deck, we have book, accumulated knowledge and memories, opening a chapter, a need to seek knowledge you are not yet aware of, a desire to share your thoughts and experiences. Pile 1, I paused to restart our clock. I'm going to have to actually pause and charge my camera battery before I continue, but I wanted to say I was going to, and I was actually going to restart my camera, not my clock, so I don't know if that's significant to you, but while doing that, I was going to change the candle here, and as you see, it actually relit an old flame within this candle holder. So let me charge my camera and we will be right back. Hello, pile 1. We are back, and I had to stop and fully charge my camera battery. It didn't notify me at all that it was basically dead, and actually it was showing that it was fine. I feel like that's going into our message earlier about you needing to rest, and I feel like maybe because you've worked so hard, or you felt like you had to work so hard to move the immovable, you didn't realize the rest that you were needing. So I forget what message that we had left off on exactly, because at this point this was 2 hours ago for me. So I'm going to just jump back into your reading and we will get back into the flow of spirit. Are there any more clarifying cards you'd like to offer for pile 1 on what are people's first impressions of them? So we have lock, a need to keep something safe, inability to get what you want, being kept out, being locked into something in confusion. We also have ghost, guilt or a past situation that needs resolution, vulnerable emotional state, unfinished business haunting you, a message to tie up any loose ends that weigh on your unconscious. And the last card we have here is games, competition, player skill, challenges, the game of life, quote unquote, and desire for escape or entertainment. So this situation from the past that needs resolution or something that keeps coming up, I think you're the thing that needs kept safe in your gifts and your purpose. I think the thing that's coming up from the past is your journey from seed to blossom, in that it's like, you know how in like Rapunzel or Sleeping Beauty, for example, like there's like a day that everything changes. I feel like the thing that is making that day come about for you is the thing that needs to be resolved. So like the dungeon, whatever is causing the need for escape, whatever is causing the feeling of being trapped. And I think it's the family, the pressure of this destiny that isn't yours that you feel like is sort of being pressed onto you. And before we move on to just a quick overview, a quick message from your charms and what they are, and your crystals, let me go into one final message from spirit. What are people's first impressions of pile 1? So people feel like you've been done unfairly in life, and also I feel like there may be specific people actually that feel like they were unfair to you, and they don't want that to come to light. They don't want you, I think, to be made aware of it, or if you are aware of it, they don't want you to like talk about it. They just don't want that in the light. So you definitely have people that are in your life and from your past that are like reminiscing on the ways that they wish that they would have treated you differently. These cards say, I was running away, I'm committed to us, I regret my actions, I feel guilty, I hope you forgive me, I'm thankful you navigate complex emotions with me. Okay, so I want to end the message on that for you, pile 1. I do want to go into a quick talk about your crystals, what they are, and a short message from them, I guess, what they have to tell you. Here's your crystals, if we can get that to focus. We have with us here for your pile 1 the yellow calcite heart crystal, and this is a jade star, but I'm pretty sure I've also had research results come up about it being an Adventurine star, and honestly I want to pull the meanings for both. I think people find you to be very stable, and to others, I think they find you to be nurturing. They may not see for you, pile 1, that you don't nurture yourself because you're so nurturing to others. They don't realize that you might lack in this and that you need to just take some time to rest more for yourself. But I do feel like people find you very approachable, empathetic, a natural healer. Someone who's gentle, someone who's understanding. I think you're an inspiration. I think people definitely know, like we said earlier, I feel like you are destined for something. I think you have a large purpose, and people sense that from you for sure. I think you are a source for others of positivity and direction, like a guiding light. You're an inspiring presence. You're someone who opens up possibilities for yourself and others, and people look at you like you're a good luck charm. I think people think you are very easy to connect with, but I think you struggle to find people that you connect with in return, or like that connect with you in return. Like I think people find a lot of receptivity in you, but I think you struggle to find that receptivity in others. But people do see you as very self-confident and positive, self-assured, someone who always sees like the bright side of situations, and someone who's very loving, compassionate, someone who has a high emotional intelligence. So first impressions of you might be that you're really kind and affectionate, and someone who wears their heart on their sleeve. I think people think when they first meet you that you're uplifting and grounding, that you're warm, that you offer a sense of warmth, and that you're stable and grounded. So that's the message we have from your crystals. I wanted to, before we go, pile one, pull some charms just to see if we can get any additional messages. We have a seahorse. We have a cat, skull and bones, a star, a sun, and a key. So I think the seahorse is pointing to the need for patience and persistence. I think the message here with this pair is that pile one, you need to have patience and passion. People look at you though like you are very gentle but also very fierce with your self-expression. I also see like this dungeon, or like this half hermit, half not hermit mode that you get into. It's like the meat of your growth. You really walk away with more than what you can even carry in gifts. You walk away with that when you go into this half hermit, half not hermit. And what I mean by that is like, it's not that you can't carry them. It's like you acquire gifts faster than you acquire you acquire the tools faster than you acquire the tool belt. And it's like you're carrying all these tools sort of by hand, but with time you will get the tool belt. You'll be able to stash away your tools in like a more efficient way that doesn't weigh on you so much to carry your tools, because you could just have a tool belt and that handles it for you, but you will get there, pile one. I think your knowledge and memories, your thoughts and experiences, your seeking knowledge, you wanting to share knowledge, and you opening a new chapter and wanting to open up a new chapter. There's a powerful contrast here between you having guidance, personal guidance, and maybe outside guidance, and you having aspirations, and then also what's dangerous in this situation. So I feel like, you tread fine lines to do the growth that you do. I think you're striving for something beyond what's ordinary, and I think your sense of purpose, and the sense of purpose acts as your inner light, and it provides clarity in like all this confusion, all this darkness. Like it pushes you even when you don't understand what's pushing you. You just feel a force towards things. But there's a situation here that requires a careful approach. I think it has to do with the knowledge that you have. Something that's dangerous. I think this knowledge could be something that sets you free in a dangerous way. And I think you need to be careful with that, pile one, because you can get to the same path. You're kind of going to go to where you're going anyways, but you need to be mindful of how you get to where you're going, because you can get there in a bad way or you can get there in a good way. And I'm not saying there's two paths to where you're going. There's millions of paths to where you're going, but 500,000 of those paths are bad. Okay, and again, not literally half are good, half are bad, but I'm just saying, like, there's a number of good and bad ways that you can get to your path. So just be mindful of how the path that you're walking on. You don't have to step in mud if there's a stone right beside there. But I think that's the key though for you, pile one, is just that avoid the choices that have negative consequences, but you have power over that. Okay, and your whole purpose right now is to look for this direction. And I want to leave it off there for you, pile one. So if this was helpful for you, and I really hope it was, please like, please subscribe, please come back for more, and feel free to watch the rest of the piles, and also feel free to comment down below your experience or just any of your thoughts. If you made it to the end here, comment a yellow heart so that people know that you were from pile one. in the comments. And I thank you for being here, and I hope to see you in a future one. Bye! Hello, Pile 2. If you chose the yellow Adventurine moon and the black Obsidian moon crystals, then you are in the right spot. I'd like to welcome you to your reading. I am Luna, and this is my little shop of spirit. In today's reading, we'll be answering the question, what are people's first impressions of you? The first pile's reading was quite long, so we are just going to jump into it in case this one ends up being just as detailed as the last. I want it to be just as helpful no matter the length. So, Spirit, what are people's first impressions of pile 2? Ooh. Wow, pile 2. So people's first impressions of you are that you're on a pedestal, and people definitely, you know, I get the image of like a prince or a princess that's like sort of being carried through a crowd on like those square platform things, and like there's people holding the platform and like carrying them through a crowd, and like the prince or princess or like whoever is the prestigious person on the platform is like sort of lounging there, being carried through the crowd while like everybody's like bowing down to them. That's the impression that you give off, pile 2. Upon meeting people, people sort of feel like you are that prestigious person that is worthy of being bowed down to by just a crowd, honestly, while people are carrying you through that crowd. And it's your like position, it's your rightful position to be so. I think nobody questions that. You don't question that, and the people around you that are getting this impression don't question that either. I think you are serious, but you also celebrate a lot. I think the heights of your celebration are brought down to earth with your seriousness, but that allows you to maintain balance and grow effectively. I think you have like an orchard of just opportunity, and what I mean by that is like it's like every tree is like an opportunity, and like you have an orchard of them. So you just have like this garden really of opportunity, but it seems like people think that you sort of have like, despite you have so many options, and I mean like numerous options, I think you have options. I think the sort of options that you have, people would look at like it's work. So it's like people look at and appreciate you and like all your grandiosity, but they also know that it probably took a lot of effort to get to where you're at, and they also know that they'd be unwilling themselves to do that effort. So I think first impressions are, you've done a lot of work, and it's work that is hard, so hard that people know themselves that they probably wouldn't do that work themselves, so they can't help but appreciate it in you. And I think, you know, you also, because you have an orchard of opportunity, I think you also felt like it was worth maybe to choose between your choices, because it took so much strategizing on your end to realize which choice would have been the best choice. Like there is too many choices. People feel like you are very lucky but also serious, and they think that you are rightfully going places, but right now they're just sort of watching you. And I think what that means is like you are on your way to a place. I think even your you know, like if you were riding a horse somewhere to your journey, this hypothetical journey, I think even your horse is watching you. I just wanted to get more cards on this. Spirit, what are people's first impressions of pile 2? I also think you let your heart lead the way, and you have a pure heart, and you balance that out with the brightness of your mind. You have a pure heart and a bright mind. I think the tools that you are utilizing are like ancient tools, and we won't take all those, but I think the tools that you're using are ancient tools, and yeah, just the tools you're using are ancient tools, and I almost feel like they're like, to the average person, these tools are like hieroglyphics, but to you, you're like reading them like it's a language. It's just simply a language. I think this balancing act, though, between seriousness and luck, because I think to the average person it looks like you could just have all the fun in the world and like just live life like that, and I think the average person thinks if they had your life they would just have all the fun in the world. You know, they would do this, they would do that, but I think in your shoes it's actually quite different, and it's been to balance between what you have to do if you want things to go a certain way in your life, and just having fun and not really planning anything, just going with the flow. That balance has been a balancing act. There's no better way to put it. Like, you know those pendulums that you like, or those tabletop spinners where you like spin there's like a little stick out of it and it just spins on a stick. I mean, it's like that, literally. Like it's balancing, but it's balancing on a tiny stick in the center. And I mean, like, it's balance of weight is easily toppled. So it's been a very fragile balancing act, I feel like, between seriousness and just taking things totally easy, because I think people think on the surface that you could. And maybe people don't actually give you the credit for all the work that you've done as well, because A, they didn't see it, and B, they think that you have it easier maybe than... I think they look at your life and they're like, they see it for what it is and not what it took to get there for you, pile 2. So there's quite a bit of mystery with your pile, but I think people kind of fill in the spaces like with their own narratives. And the narrative seems to be like, oh, you have it so easy, or you must have it so easy. But I see that you've actually done quite a lot of work, quite a lot of thinking, it might have been a lot of mental work. On the bottom here, we'll take this card and I'll pull the rest. I'll just read them out actually, and I'll put the stack back in. We have growth, transformation, and mystery, and a card, 7 of mirrors for reflection, wanted to pop out a second ago. These cards deal with a single tree with a broken branch, conflict, loss, overcoming obstacles. The quote being, every storm tests the tree, but even broken branches grow back stronger. This other card that was wanting to show itself is 7 of mirrors, being a distorted reflection, dealing with deception and illusions. Deception begins only when we see what we want to see. So I feel, that's reminded me actually, because I picked out this deck that I did that's kind of based on ocean imagery and mermaids and sirens, really. And I feel like people seeing what they want to see and then filling in the blanks. It's reminding me of a Marilyn Monroe quote where she's like, I never seduced anyone really. Let me look up what the quote is real fast. She has a quote that says, and I don't know if this is like verbatim, because you know how the internet is, and I'm just looking this up in passing, but there's a quote from Marilyn Monroe that goes, I've never fooled anyone, but I've let a lot of people fool themselves. They didn't bother to find out who and what I was. Instead, they would invent a character for me. And I'm getting chills as I say that, pile 2. And I feel like that's sort of your narrative is, there's a lot of mystery around you, but I feel like people sort of fill in the blanks for themselves. And you maybe were at a point for a long time in your life where you like wanted to correct people, wanted to be understood. And I think you've gotten to a point where you're just like, F it. They can think whatever they want. It actually doesn't affect me. And, I think for a long time you were like, I want it to be a positive thought about me. I want it to be, something that's true. But I think you've gotten to the point where you're so mysterious to others and for so long. And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon or throughout your life. And, because of that, you've gotten used to it. And I don't want to say numbed, but you've adapted to it. And you're not so worried anymore about people getting you correct. And I think this nonchalance definitely comes across in your air and in your essence now. And people are honestly even more intrigued by it. It only added to your intrigue. It only added to your appeal. It only added to your mystery. So that's kind of funny. But the cards we have here are 9 of mirrors representing reflection. The image being 9 mirrors reflecting a single face. And the keywords being self-perception and identity. The quote here is, perception is not just how you choose to see yourself, or it's not just how you choose to see the world, but also how you choose to see yourself. So I think people really see how outward focused you are, but they also see how inward focused you are. And I feel like during this period, your lessons, there's a balancing here. It's funny because it's not funny, it's really interesting. The balance here between your extroversion and introversion, because your extroverted side really brings people to you and they see that there's something there that they don't have access to, and the extroversion goes away, and then they're left looking at the introversion and the lack of extroversion. Like, you bring all these gifts to them in socialization and then you take them away, and you also bring them questions, and then they're left with the gifts and the questions after you leave. And, it just adds to your overall image, your overall appeal. You're very alluring for sure. Ooh. So we also have the card, the Trickster. A mask with 2 faces, deception, duality. The mask we wear for others often hides us from ourselves. So pile 2, you may have dealt with a lot of people-pleasing tendencies, and that's sort of why you are finally coming back to this journey of self, circling back in defining, letting go of what others sort of, how they craft an image of you, and sort of just focusing on your own image, and not like in crafting it for others, but just focusing on it for yourself. or like focusing on it for you and like by you. You're only doing it for yourself and you're the only one doing it. You're not doing it to be understood by others. I think a lot of your efforts for a long time was to try and be understood. People's first impressions of you as well, because of this mystery aspect, is maybe that you are like hiding something, and that they think that there might be deception there, like you're untrustworthy. So because you're so sweet, I get the sense that people are like, what is that about though? Like, what's that thing behind the curtain that I need to see? Like, what, I'm getting this mystery. She's nice and all, but like, there's something there like that. But I think really, there's a time and place for everything. And I don't think you're airing out your dirty laundry out in every conversation that you're having. So I think that's really all it is. You're extroverted, but you're selectively extroverted. I think you're not just selectively extroverted on the topics that you're willing to discuss with others, but I also think you're selectively extroverted on the people you're willing to connect to. We have the escape, fleeing danger, a bird breaking free from its cage, representing freedom and liberation. Sometimes survival means knowing when to fly. I feel like you are in a period when you're focusing on yourself and you still care for others. You're still really empathetic, but you're coming to yourself again. And you returning to yourself and you letting go of others' needs that they don't have to do with your path. You don't have to tend to everybody's needs. And sometimes these can be distractions away from our paths. And I feel like you doing that is you reaching a level of freedom and you working towards reaching your ultimate freedom. Or you working towards reaching your ultimate freedom. We also have the awakening, a sun rising over a slumbering figure, revival, new beginnings, love's power. Love awakens what fear and loss have put to sleep. I think even when, you do have opportunity to discuss maybe your worst fears or what you've lost or things that have affected you, I think people they struggle to acknowledge the things you've been through because of where you're at now. But the final card we have from this deck we're landing on is the journey. Through a forest, a path winding through dense trees, unknown paths, personal growth. The darkest journeys reveal the brightest truths. I want to continue moving on through our decks here and just get the rest of our cards. Spirit, what are people's first impressions of pile 2? What are people's first impressions of pile 2? If you're a girl, if you're a girl or a guy, it doesn't matter your gender. I feel like your hair is really like attractive. And if I was going to say though, if you're a girl, I feel like you have a barrette that you wear like sort of to the side in the front of your like bangs. And even if you don't have bangs, like the strands that frame your face. I feel like you have a barrette or barrettes that you like hold those strands back with, and people really like those. I'm hearing it makes you look really pretty. What are people's first impressions of pile 2? I think pile 2, for many people, you would be their muse, or you are a muse to many people. I think you're so nonchalant about it at this point though. Like, I think at one point you wanted to be understood, and because people like refused, it seems, to understand you, I think you got to a point where you don't effing care if people understand you, and like you don't even want acceptance at this point. You want to be weird. You want to, because to you at this point that's validating. For people to acknowledge that you're weird at this point is validating, because it validates all the times you've been rejected. But at this point, when people are inspired by you, you're just like, yeah, okay, well, like whatever, take a number, I guess. You're not rude about it, but you're just like, where was this when I needed it? Like, now I don't actually need the validation because I feel strong in myself, and now I'm, it seems others are looking to you for inspiration, and I don't think you are even trying to inspire. I don't think you are trying to inspire. I just think you do. I think you scare people for sure, pile 2. I think you intimidate people, especially in this new era where you're being more nonchalant about your perception. Let me restart our timer though, or not restart our timer. I want to light an incense here for us. Ooh. So let me check what time we have, by the way. I'm so distracted. I think you distract people, pile 2. I think you get people like off what they're expecting, their norms. You throw all that out the window. So we have mermaid's harp, music, harmony, creativity, emotional expression through art, harmony, and life, soothing energies. I feel like, you are an artist in your own way, and I think you inspire artists. I think you make others become artists because you are a piece of art yourself. I mean, they can't help but become inspired by you. You make artists of people. We have Harbor Seal, playfulness, adaptability, lightheartedness, curiosity, blending into surrounding. And again, adaptability. So I think you are highly adaptable like a chameleon. I think this plays into like your siren-esque abilities, or like your ability to be so alluring, which by the way is natural. We also have wave, change, emotion, flow, cycles, adaptability, cleansing, renewal. I think you don't back away from your emotions. I think people find you to be, their first impressions of you are that you are, I think, they think you're emotionally complex, and they don't know what the complexities hold because of that mystery element. So whenever they get just the positivity, they're like, ooh, what's this? I want to pick at this, this sticker and see what's underneath. How does this person respond to this? How does this person respond when I do this, to this scenario, when this comes up? People want to see you sort of flow through your range of emotions to see what they are, because they know there's a wide range. I think honestly people would be frightened to see the range, and I think they would be frightened even more to see the range goes beyond what they had even imagined. We also have barnacles, persistence, resilience, clinging to goals, long-term commitment, adaptability, and grounding. So I think one of the reasons also why your emotional depth is being picked up is because you've been through so much and you've overcome so much. Like, I don't know if I was finished that thought a second ago, but you don't shy away from your emotions or your shadows, and it makes you, I think that is what allows you to be that chameleon. We also have coral and pearl here. Coral standing for resilience and community connection, foundation, collective strength, and adaptability. I think your resilience does come from all that you've been through and overcome, and I think that allows you to be empathetic towards others, and people definitely pick up on that empathy. And I think that empathy it's such an intelligence. I think people are like, you must have been through something, and then because you don't appear to have gone through something, that's part of the mystery as well, because people are like, well, what could you have gone through to have received all this emotional depth, all this emotional intelligence, all this empathy? And people wonder, is it nothing, or is it a lot? Is it more than what's imaginable? People are just really curious about you. I get chills as I say that. So what we have here with this last card from this deck is Pearl, meaning purity and transformation. This card represents wisdom, beauty from adversity, and self-worth. And I think self-worth is the journey you're on, pile 2. And I think one of the ways that people find you beautiful, pile 2, actually, and unfortunately some may try to take advantage of this, but I think pile 2, people's first impressions of you are that you don't realize your own worth, and that you're beautiful. Partly you're objectively beautiful, but then there's a layer of beauty on top of it because you don't recognize how beautiful you are. People do recognize that though. They wouldn't say that. They're not saying that, but they do see that. Spirit, what are people's first impressions of pile 2? This is nice. This comes up and this is nice, honestly. So we have on the bottom of the deck here, accidentally, but I do want to keep it because I feel like it's relevant, is repression. And on the flip side of that, we have love. So I feel like you're single, or you stay single for long periods of time, and people are like, what is that about? Or they don't understand how someone like you could go single or be single, and they don't they can't wrap their minds around it. So that's a point of confusion and mystery. People definitely pick up, part of your mystery is just that they see that you're very reflective, and your reflections aren't necessarily what makes it out in conversation. Your reflections are separate. You might make like witty quips and stuff like that in a conversation, but your true deep reflections, you sort of keep those to yourselves. And I think people witness that scape being maintained, and they might even be able to witness when you go inside to that space. Ultimately though, people do find you very balanced, like day and night, but they ultimately see you as they see you having day and night balance within you, but ultimately they see you as the day, the happy side, the positive side. They see you as very fair and unbiased. the last card we have here is overindulgence, and it's overindulgence rather than celebrating. So I feel like you have like a past due celebrating or celebrations that need to happen, or you have a habit of, instead of celebrating your like moments of victory, you overindulge in, I don't know what you overindulge in, but it's like instead of celebrating, and it's actually what you need to do is celebrate yourself. But you know, I think these old patterns that don't totally serve you, pile 2, I think you're getting rid of those. So I just wanted to keep those out for us because those are your cards from earlier. So we have 2 more piles I want to pull from, and then we're actually going to talk a little bit about if there's any messages from your crystals, and I'm going to pull some charms for you, and we will finish up on messages from those. So Spirit, what are people's first impressions of pile 2, please? Also, pile 2, I'm getting for you, people might have actually thought before they meet you that you have a resting B face, like a RBF, and they might actually, you might hear a lot, pile 2, I thought you were going to be mean before I met you. And then people meet you and they're like, this is like my long lost best friend, my long lost soulmate. Like, they're surprised, I think, by how nice you are. So we have trapped between worlds, purgatory, waning gibbous moon, slow process of release and transition, reflecting, waiting, contemplating. I think you are past the point of purgatory. I think you're coming out of a point of purgatory. I think this is the purgatory for some reason that lasted 2 years or 2 months, or you know, it was a very long time. It was a very long time, but you're leaving this, and I think you leaving this purgatory, it was a point of contemplation for you, of severe contemplation. I'm hearing like painful contemplation, back-breaking contemplation, heartbreaking contemplation, mind-breaking, world-shattering. But this contemplation is what's leading to your self-worth journey. You recognizing your own value the way that others do, because others see you for how valuable you are. And I think honestly what's crazy is others can't even capture how valuable you are. They can only witness a speckle of it, like a little piece of it. And for you to realize your worth, step into realizing your own self-worth, honestly, you're going to be recognized more than anyone else ever could by yourself, because no one knows everything like you do about what you've been through, and what, like, it's not going to be as impactful when someone else recognizes your worth as when you do it yourself. So we have overflowing with everything and nothing in reverse, fulfillment. And I think not feeling fulfilled is, you know, I'm hearing the word breadcrumbed, but I just feel like not feeling fulfilled was one of the triggers for the journey you're on. Spirit, are there any final cards you'd like to offer for people's first impressions of pile 2? So first impressions, pile 2, we have water and earth. So people do find you emotional and yet stable. People find you, you know, quite paradoxical and complex in your paradox, and mysterious because of that. They see you as, these cards here that we have are swan and horned toad. The number 3 might be significant to you. Stability and balance is a significant. So, sorry about that. I had mail that was being delivered. But, so we have grace and beauty unfold through patience. And we have arm yourself with protection, but never forget your soft core. You know, and I think that's part of the things you're balancing, because I do think you have light and darkness within you, as we all do, but I think you work to integrate these qualities, and I mean integrate them well to where there is almost just gray, but you're still able to separate the gray, though. That's kind of what's really nice and interesting about you, pile 2, is like, despite your effort to make things gray so that there isn't black and white, you know, you really want to integrate your shadows and your light. You really want to understand yourself, and you really want to understand others. You know, I think it's easy to lose sight of like our softness, and like sometimes it's easy to just wear a shell. But you know, I don't think I'm telling you anything you don't know, pile 2. Honestly, like, I think this is all just confirmation for you. So with your crystals, we have, you know, your obsidian moon, your black obsidian moon, and the yellow adventurine moon. I think a lot of your reflection has been done in your garden, if you want to call it that. And like, I'm just calling your garden like your internal realm of opportunity scape. You know, the place you go inside of yourself when you're considering your opportunities in crafting and, you know, creating opportunities. People do see you as warm and welcoming, but they also see you as guarded and intense. But, you know, you're not approachable because of the warm and welcoming. And the mystery is the guarded and intense part, because they're like, how are these two existing beside each other? You know, I don't want to keep driving that home. I'm sure it's a point that you're aware of at this point, just within your own lives because of how people have treated you. But you have a personality that is very multifaceted. You can be sunny and positive, but also you can be grounded, introspective, capable of deep thought. You know, your head's just, you're not just in the clouds, you're also rooted in the dirt, you know? And you leave a lasting impression because people realize with you that there's more than what's just on the surface. I wanted to finish your reading with some charms. And before we do that, pile 2, I actually want to restart my camera just so we don't have to worry about time. So let me do that. All right, so getting into your charms, pile 2, and let me make sure we're in focus. Sorry about that. Pile 2, your messages is much more concise than pile 1. This actually happened in my last reading as well. And I just want to say, if you made it to this point, you know, you might use this as a confirmation that if you're curious about pile 1, this is your chance to, you know, you can always go back and watch it. You don't ever have no chances. But, you know, this is a confirmation to you that that's probably a pile for you to watch, because earlier while I was writing my notes down, I mistakenly wrote your pile down as pile 1. And also, out of all the charms I could have just pulled, we pulled a charm that was also in pile 1, which honestly, the chances of that happening are very slim, especially with the number. I mean, most of those are unique charms, and most of my charms are unique charms, and I stirred them fairly well before I pulled, you know, and I don't pull until I feel the energy is right and all that. But so we have a cat here with like a drumstick in his mouth, and I feel like your commitment to your goals and your ability to be adaptable and resilient and persistent and grounded during those efforts is going to be what brings you your great success. People think you are very playful but also resourceful. They think you're quick. They think you're intelligent. They think you are really out there. You know, they think you are super unique. And let me look up these symbols here to just see if there's any specifics that would be helpful for you, pile 2. So people also view you as someone who's independent and curious, and obviously with this cat, again, just another confirmation on the mysteriousness of your personality. You know, they think you have a steady rhythm to you, and they, you know, they think you indulge in like a Taurus, like indulge in I don't know how else to say this other than like lively materials. So like shelter, food, things that make you feel good and secure, and like things, you know, that's not the same for everybody, but the things for you that make you feel like you're, you know, nested well, you indulge in those. People think you are quite quirky, and they appreciate that about you because they feel like your quirkiness is, there's a truth to it. They don't think you're insincere. They also think you are gentle and alert, and you know, very fertile, very abundant. Someone who's full of new beginnings, someone who's full of potential, someone who can quickly adapt. And I'm getting an image of that, the white rabbit off of Alice in Wonderland, when he's kind of racing to the tunnel as Alice is catching him for the first time, and he's saying he's late. I don't know what that symbol is about, but maybe that's something for you. We also have, you know, people will definitely pick up on your mystery and depth because of your wisdom. You're very calm, you're very peaceful. People witness, you know, areas that you have discipline and boundaries. So they feel like you've been through life lessons, and that's how they sort of pick up an interest in your hidden sides. Like, what are these life lessons then? But pile pile 2, I want to leave your reading off at that. Like I said, if pile 1 did pique your interest, certainly check that out. And if pile 3 piqued your interest, stick around for that as well. You are more than welcome to watch the whole video. And I'd love to see you in a future reading as well. If you enjoyed this reading today, though, feel free to like and comment your experiences and your thoughts down below. And do not forget to subscribe. I hope to see you in a future one, and I can't wait. Goodbye, guys. We just need to jump right into it, pile 3. As I was clearing the space for you guys, and you know what? I actually want to just get this message out, and then I'm going to stop, clear our space out from pile 2, and then we'll get into it. But as I'm preparing the space for you guys, I'm hearing Watashi wa shita, and I think you guys are also like a vampiric beauty. I thought pile 2 had a lot of like mystery to them, and that was adding like an element of darkness to their reading, but you guys are straight up like mysterious. Like there's no other, out of all the 3 piles, yours is the most mysterious. Like there's no other way to put it other than just straight up mystery. I mean, I would describe your pile as a heartbreaker, but before we get into it, I want to you know, clear the space from pile 2, and then we will begin. Watashi wa shita, by the way, I've been listening to that song so much, but it's Mamushi by Megan Thee Stallion. I was channeling that song for your pile 3. Okay, pile 3. Let's get into it. Your pile has me grinning, so I feel like you make people cheese. You know, I feel like you have people like uncontrollably grinning. You remind me of the, you know, goth girl, goth guy. I mean, you don't literally have to be goth, but you have this like gothic air about you. Like, does this person sit in graveyards and read Edgar Allan Poe in their free time? Very like just dark, but I don't mean that in like a negative way. It's very intriguing and mysterious in a, I would say, a positive way. So today we're going to be answering the question, what are people's first impressions of you, pile 3? So right away we have this person is my, like this person can fulfill all of my desires. Is definitely how people, and like fulfill them in a way, and put the sprinkles and the cherry on top after. That's what people think of you, pile 3. You are definitely, of all the 3 piles, you have an immediate presence that's undeniably sexy. You know, the other piles, they have an attractiveness about them as well, but you have a sexiness that sort of just hits you. Like when you walk in the door, nobody's questioning, am I attracted to this person? The whole room's like, ooh, that's the best looking person in the room here. So I have a feeling. Okay, pile 3, your cards are very active in comparison to the other piles. So pile 3, I get this feeling with you, sort of like well, Sleeping Beauty, and also people sort of having an absolute devotion to you. And I'm thinking of this one marble, I think it is, sculpture, and let me actually look up what it is, and if I can find it and I'm able to, I'll pop it into the video here. Okay, it's called Adoration, and it's by Stephen Sinding. I'm not sure the pronunciation of his name. Stephen Abel Sinding. It's spelled though S-I-N-D-I-N-G. Stephen Abel Sinding. That's the sort of vibe people have, you know, towards you. They're the person that's adoring. You're the person up on the pedestal, doing nothing, honestly, just being you. I'm getting chills. I think people want to put you on a pedestal. I think they love being in this position with you. I think people's first impressions of you, pile 3, are you're just enjoyable to watch. And your flame over here is getting intense, and your candles are leaning. So there's definitely like people wonder about how dangerous or not you'd be for them. Let me fix this candle over here before things get crazy. And I'm feeling called to light a black candle for your pile 3, so we will just go ahead and do that, and I will take care of that, and then we'll come back. Pile 3, I feel like people think, you know, you are very popular, and I think people also feel like you've had to deal with a lot of cutthroat situations because of your popularity, and that maybe this is something that you constantly have to deal with. Some people might feel like you are like their saving grace, or like their their knight in shining armor sort of figure, in that you could fix all their problems. Like, some people feel like you are just the answer to their prayers, really. People think you're very wise in like a silent way. So they think that you reflect silently, and you acquire knowledge silently, and you keep this knowledge to yourself. Like, it gives this air that you're like silently kind of capable of anything, silently capable of everything. People get the impression, if you're not literally young, that you're young at heart, and I don't mean that in like a childish way, and it's in an entirely positive, magnetizing, and attractive way. They see you as someone that keeps things fresh, and you're sort of in a celebratory spirit in that sense. You're definitely seen as, by others, people's first impressions of you are that you're perfect. They think you're victorious over anything that you set your mind to. People think you're fair, and people's first impressions of you are that you are very like reasonable or like sane. And I don't mean like in like a boring way. I mean, people find that your logic is really just upon meeting you. So I want to jump into each of these piles here and get some more cards for us. For you, pile 3. Oh, okay. I feel like you catch people off guard. Like, they expect you to be a certain way, and then, it's not that you're another way, but you might show another facet of yourself, and they're like, oh, okay, where did that come from? Or, I didn't know that was there. Or, how could I have missed this? Or, they're almost like, I thought I knew the totality of this person in all of their complexities, and now there's this new, I'm almost hearing like there's like this new hole in the pipe, and it's bursting out, and it's uncontrolled, and I can't follow the stream. Spirit, what are people's first impressions of pile 3? I think people are insecure around you as well. Like, you make people feel like they have to do a lot of work to keep up with you. People don't feel like they can just rest around you, because you seem so complete and put together, and like you're on your way to even better things. So people feel like there's no way they could possibly rest around you, because they're already behind. They need to catch up, and they feel like they definitely need to catch up if they want to keep up with you. They need to catch up if they want to keep up, and there's no time for rest. If they fall asleep at camp and you're hitting the road, that's sort of what that feels like. You give off this air of like, just sadness, even though I don't get the impression actually that you're sad. So I feel like, people say like, oh, tall, dark, and handsome. I feel like people say that about people that have like dark features. I've heard that said about literally like a dark-skinned person. But I think I've also heard that said about just dark features. So like dark eyebrows, dark hair, deep set eyes. Like, I think you have these features, and it makes people become entangled. It makes people become entangled with their desire for you. And I think honestly that leads to heartbreak. I think your looks alone lead to heartbreak, because your looks alone make people have interest in you. They sort of break their own hearts. I think people know, people kind of fall in love with you before they get a chance to meet you, because they see how deep you seem. I think ultimately though, a lot of your relationships, you're just like, I feel like you are the type of person that has the spirit of like, I love meeting people in passing or in casual, like making a best friend at a concert and like not knowing their name and not getting their number and never seeing that person again. And like, I feel like those are the sort of experiences that you love. You love experiences where you can sort of embrace the all of a moment and then let it go. And things like that, meeting a friend at a concert, for example, can help you experience those moments like that. And I feel like that's sort of how you want people to experience you. And I don't think you're realizing like you want people to experience you because you're the thing that's so great. People want to experience it in their all, but they never get a chance to, and you just do the let go part. So like you come in and it's like a concert that doesn't get finished, or like it's a concert that you stand outside of and you look at, and then you don't get to hear any of the music music is sort of what you feel like to others, but they want to get in. You're someone who doesn't leave the minds of those you make an impression on. You are everlasting in impression. I think, your whole life you're going to be working on doing your best to grow, doing your best to climb up whatever trellis it is that you're at. I think you'll meet a lot of people doing this, and a lot of people will come fascinated and intrigued with you, but not everybody is meant to come along with you, So I think your sentiment in the transactions where people just want to become all absorbed in you because they do, you're just sort of like, well, that was nice, but goodbye, thank you for the lovely time. People also feel rejected by you, but it's not in a way that leaves them with a bad taste, because they feel rejected by you, but you're still up on your pedestal. So your position doesn't change in their eyes after this disappointment. Obviously, though, they wish that they had a different positioning within your life is why they're feeling like that. But Spirit, do you have any more cards from this deck for pile 3 on? So I think people might take you as someone who, they might want to think you're rigid or you're a certain type of way, and then you're not that. And you are quite adaptable, actually, and you flow well, and you are very resilient. And you're resilient from adapting to, rather harsh situations in life. I think people, when they see you and they're like, oh, this tall, dark, handsome person, and that's male or female, that's not gendered. But, I think they see that and they attribute that to your physical features. But what they also don't see is there's an essence about you, or like an energy of you. And that actually is adding to that, like, darkness. And I don't say that in like a dark, negative way. I mean, like I said, dark features, like dark eyebrows, mystery, intrigue, and deep set eyes, and like those qualities and traits, that sort of darkness. Spirit, what are people's first impressions of pile 3? People's first impressions of you are that you're very alternative. You might have piercings, for example, or tattoos. You just have this alternativeness about you. You seem withdrawn. People wonder if you have tattoos when they see you. People are just generally really curious about you, and people feel humbled in your presence. I don't think you humble people, though. I think your presence humbles people. I mean, I don't think it's something that you are doing consciously, and I don't think it's something they are doing consciously. People think you have a very melodic voice. They find you to be very creative. They love your eyes, and they almost have like a fieriness to them, like they glow almost. So this card says amber eyes, but really what I'm picking up on that is like if you have brown eyes, they're so glowing and fiery that they appear amber. It's like that, but you could have any color eye: blue, green, brown, black, gray, any color eye, but they glow. They have a fire to them. People think you, people wonder about your level of pamperedness, and they wonder if they could pamper you. People think that you are very loyal. You seem like someone who's very loyal. People definitely pick up on your seeming, you have this ability, it seems, to adapt really well to situations. People pick up on that. You're really graceful, and people think you're very beautiful and charming. And you're someone who brings a higher perspective to situations. I think people look to you for that and think of you. When they think about that quality, they think of you, and they might even think about how they want your help with that. Having a big picture perspective. I'm hearing other people say, I struggle with that. I struggle with that. Spirit, what are people's first impressions of pile 3? People wonder what all you have going for you, and if it's nothing, but I get the sense that actually you just have a lot of haters as well. Like, I think your attractiveness and your magnetism is really undeniable to all, and I think the people who but that doesn't mean there aren't people who want to deny it, though, and I think you do have people who want to deny it. I think there's people who want to bring down your value in your worth, and they're even hoping really that you're not doing anything with yourself, that you're not loyal, and that you're not you don't have a depth to you in this state of withdrawal, in this state of mystery that you exist within. They're hoping there's nothing to that. Your haters hope there's nothing to your mystery. But unfortunately for them, I suppose that there's actually quite a bit too much to contain within, a language can't capture your essence. I think, you know, you deal with isolation maybe because people have treated you, I think people either put you on a pedestal or they treat you poorly. And I think either way, though, you actually are on the pedestal. It's just some people are triggered by your position. And I think there's a time, though, in your life when you were like, you know, you've never tried to trigger people, though. So I think there's a time in your life when you were like, you know, you might have been to these people, oh, what did I do? Or is there something I can do better to help you? Is there something I can change about myself? And I think you tried to change and you did change and you did help and you tried to. And you know, it only takes so much and so long until you realize like these people just have problems. They're gonna have problems no matter what I do or what I change or you know how I approach this, and it doesn't matter how I can spend my whole life appeasing. We're back pile 3 and I actually had to stop there and charge my battery again as I did with another pile earlier. So let's just jump back into your reading. You know, I know we were covering these cards here, so let's wrap up with messages from music. So pile 3, I feel like you've dealt with people being obsessed with you a lot, and I feel like you have dealt with stalkers a lot, and I think you deal with people being obsessed with you like sort of no matter where you go. It doesn't matter what school you're at, it doesn't matter what job you're at, it doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't matter. Everywhere you go, if you spend time there and people have a chance to observe you, they become obsessed, you know, in places where you frequent. So I think people become obsessed even in passing, to be honest with you. I think you're the pile that really steals the glances of others. Like, you know, I think people glance at you a lot and stare at you a lot. But I think people have a chance to become obsessed in spaces where you linger. So that's like school and work. People think you are something to miss out on. And when you leave people's lives romantically, you are certainly the one that got away. I think people use you as like a measuring stick for what went wrong after you leave their lives, and you know, they definitely use you as a, you know, this is after you've left and doesn't really have to do with you, but I think people after you've interacted with them in a romantic or just other sense, you know, I think people get an idea of like what they want to do better because you're such an idealization of, or you're like a realization of their fantasies. So to meet you in the flesh, to meet a fantasy in the flesh, it makes you realize like what you need to do still to like acquire that fantasy or like make that fantasy a reality. But I think ultimately, you know, you seem like you can make people's dreams come true and like their fantasies come true, and you feel like your energy feels like a party, and I think you're in total control of this party, and I think people are intrigued and want to be a part of this controlled party. Are there any messages you'd like to get from this deck to pile 3 about what their first questions are? So around this mystery that people think about you, like your energy is very mysterious, they think that you have something to be sad about. I think they want to be the one that like emotionally sort of balms, or like they want to be like emotional salve for you, people do, because you seem sad. So I won't go through this whole stack in detail. People definitely think you're lonely, but I think you're actually just alone. I think you like that. People are honestly terrified by your energy. I mean, like, you know, they're intimidated and they kind of want to cower to their intimidation. And again, you know, they feel like this mystery feels like people think you might be two-faced or there's something you're not opening up to them about, but there really isn't. If you found a certain person appropriate to open up to them about something, you would. I just think you, again, are selective about what information you give out, and you're selective about who you give it out to, and you're selective about what connections you have. And I mean, I just think it's all, you know, I don't want to say strategic because I don't think you're trying to manipulate everything, but I do think you are trying to navigate like what's best for you. And I think people are a little bit insulted by that, but I mean, honestly, it's them taking it personal and not you intending anything by it. And I don't think you need to change anything there. I think, you know, you're working really hard because your worst fear, I think, is to be mediocre. And I don't think you are in any sense of the word mediocre, but I think this fear kind of drives you to be like excellent. Spirit, what are the first impression pile 3 gives to people they meet? So people think you're really patient. I don't want to take all those, but we had fishermen come out just for patience. Maybe you literally do like to fish, but I was just taking that more like, you know, someone who's willing to wait around for what's the best catch for them. You know, I think you don't like to settle for stuff, so maybe that's something people are a little bit intimidated by. Hey, we got athlete showing itself. I definitely think, you know, you're a hard worker. I think in your withdrawal, you work quite a bit. Human resources, management, people relations, briefcase, handshake. I think people really want to network with you, and I think people's first impressions are that you are someone that's worth networking with and you know how to network really well. You know, I'm getting the image separately from this, but also in relation to it, but just as a separate image of a spider web, and I think people like kind of want to become entangled in you. And even though they want to be entangled with you and they have that desire, they still look at you as like, oh, but you're a web though. You want to tangle me up. Like they sort of look at it like that. Like they have suspicion about you, even though it's just merely their interest and desire. They're suspicious. You know, I think they're projecting this curiosity they have as a suspicion onto you. Let us jump into your crystals now. Pile 3. So we had Labradorite, star crystal, as well as the black onyx heart crystal. People definitely feel secure around you, and despite all this chaos they feel around you, you know, and I think you just stir a lot of emotional chaos within others. You know, I think you really enter people's lives, kind of cause tower moments, not kind of cause, but like you cause either like little or big tower moments, but tower moments nonetheless, and you just kind of step out of the picture, and I think people are like, you know, you're like a chaos angel, but like despite all this chaos that you bring, you know, you like really level people up. That's what the chaos is all about. You level people up, you know, it's all in good faith, it's all in good intention. So like despite all this chaos that people feel from you, these tower moments that people feel from you, they ultimately feel like you're very stable and grounded, and you have a strength and resilience to you, and you're compassionate, and you know, I think you're good at, people think you've been through a lot, and I get the sense that you have, but you don't carry it with you. You've let go of a lot, and I think you teach people you teach people how to let go of, you know, toxic emotions. And I think people look at you and, you know, your dark appearance, and they're like, it's cleansed of toxicity, and people just struggle to put a totality to you, like a wholeness to you, because, well, it's hard to describe what you're seeing when everything's all black. You know what I mean? It's hard to describe what you're seeing when everything's in the dark. And so they can describe easily your light attributes and your positivity, but as soon as it gets to the places where you withdraw into yourself and everything's internal, you know, they don't know how to describe that, and it intrigues them, and I think people are pulled to you because of that. There's a mystical quality to you, mystical outside of your mysteryness. So, you know, I'm getting, is Anthony LaVey his name? Let me look up. Oh, it's Anton LaVey, I believe. I think he was actually a Satanist leader. He was the founder of the Church of Satan. You know, I think people look at you and they're like, you know, I don't want to say, also, by the way, if you don't believe in Satan, and I'm not saying you don't believe in Satan, but if you don't believe in like the Church of Satan, you don't follow like the dogmatic path of believing in Satan, I'm not putting that on you, and I'm not saying like you're satanic, so I don't want you to pull that away from this message. But what I am getting is people sort of, they look at you like you're this dark figure, and if you look into like the actual teachings of Satanism, I think it really just sort of wishes to capture freedom, autonomy, and those sorts of qualities. But people look at freedom and autonomy like these qualities of Satanism, and, you know, they're demonized. And I think people want to demonize like even your qualities that are innocent. I think people want to demonize them because you have this dark qualities about you in as far as your appearance goes. So, you know, it's not that you're literally dark or literally satanic. It's more like dark, thick eyebrows and deep set eyes, and I'm getting really tall for some reason, so maybe you're tall. I wanted to pull some charms real fast. Before we do that though, just to wrap up your crystals. So I think people view you as someone who is very secure, very grounded, but you're also open to like exploration and creativity. And you're someone who's able to protect yourself emotionally while also being open to exploring emotions and dreaming and following your inner light. And I think your ability to protect yourself allows you to feel safe following your inner light. You're quite a balanced person and you have a balanced approach to life. People really pick up on that. You are someone that holds the values of your heart close to you while also, you know, reaching for your dreams. You don't lose sight of yourself. We have a Pegasus pin, or like a Pegasus charm here. So this might talk about spiritual ascension, transformation, freedom, and liberation. This did land on your card that talks about you enjoying moments where, you know, you can sort of experience a moment in its totality and then leave it forever. Like meeting a friend at a concert, like a best friend at a concert, and then, you know, not knowing their name, not getting their number, and just sort of having that experience and saying bye. Maybe not even saying bye. This charm talks about blending power and grace with inspiration and spiritual elevation. So, you know, I think your journey has been one that's been very spiritual for you, which makes sense because I think it's been an intense journey. And on top of that, I think it's been a very internal journey. So, I mean, that's sort of the recipe for a spiritual experience, a spiritual existence if there was one. Let's restart the camera so we have a fresh cycle of time and we'll discuss these charms some more. We also have an elephant. We have a unicorn with flowing hair. I feel like, you know, your beauty is almost like, or like your uniqueness or like what makes you so rare is almost hidden away from people, and like people sense it, and they're trying to like dig it out, like unearth it. But I don't think you really give many people or any people chances to what makes you so beautiful. And I think people's first impression of you is just that they are really pulled towards you to sort of figure out what that is. We also have a star here, as well as like a tropical palm leaf sort of leaf, and a witch on a broomstick. I think self-expression has sort of been a huge thing for you, in that a part of your mystery is you've not felt comfortable to express yourself, so your internal landscape in response to that became very rich, and people want to come in now to that landscape. But I think you always had to offer that richness. It's just maybe early on in life it wasn't received well, or you felt rejected or misunderstood. So you sort of hid that, and it became an internal thing, this expression, and you started expressing yourself. You felt more comfortable to express yourself inside than you did outside. So I mean, like something as simple as your favorite clothes, for example, you might think about them, how much you'd love to wear them, but then when it comes to like actually putting them on, you might not feel comfortable putting on your favorite clothes. And it's because what you're comfortable with as far as self-expression has become like a very internal process. But I think actually, you know, I don't want to say it needs to become external, but I do feel like you need to bring yourself out to the world, pile 3. You know, I don't want to tell you have to do anything, but I think your autonomy and your self-assuredness, you know, people haven't done all the work it takes to manage the inner landscape that you have. And, you know, I think you have a very rich inner landscape, and I think you've worked on it a lot to the point to where it gives you safety, it gives you security, it gives you foundation. And I think, you know, because people didn't see all that work and they just see the end result, and they just see your, you know, they just experience your energy and your essence, they're kind of like, their energy is shocked, because they're like, well, where's this stability? Like, not where's it's coming from, like you're not like how are they getting that, because they don't seem like they should have that. It's more like they're amazed, and then they're like, where's that coming from? Like, how are they doing that? Like, you baffle people. I think people look at you like you're magic, honestly. I think you're untamed magic, and I think there were ways that you were, this is paradoxical, but there are ways that you were tamed, and you're trying to untame those, because I think inherently you are an untamed individual. I think you're stepping into into being someone who's not afraid to stand out and follow their own path. I think this is a process that's sort of snowballed, so it might have been something you were completely uncomfortable with, and then it started a little bit, and that snowball rolls and it keeps rolling down the mountain and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and like, small steps got you to where you're at, and you feel, I think you're on a journey now of just embracing your individuality and feeling comfortable putting yourself out there, because I think honestly, like pile 3, the world misses out on just something truly beautiful when you don't put yourself out there. I think you alchemize feelings of like disappointment and rejection within your own life. I think feeling alone or feeling like forgotten about, or just you may have felt left out in the cold, or however you want to describe, but I feel like those feelings, sort of you alchemizing those, is a power of yours, and it makes you more powerful. You turn situations that have made you feel bad into situations that will make you feel powerful. And I mean, pile 3, that's insane. That's insanely powerful. It's insane in a good way. I think your power, and some of your power and some of your transformation has been realizing your personal autonomy, and all this magic that you own is yours, and it's not to just be given away, because I think for a lot of your life up until recently, you were just giving it away. You didn't question it. I almost felt like you felt like it was a duty to give it away, or like you had to, or there was no other choice but to give it away. And like now, I think you're realizing like all the things that belong to you and what that means. But pile 3, I would like to end your reading right there for today. I hope that was extremely helpful. I hope you're walking away with from this with something cool, something interesting, something informative. If you were called to any of the other piles, please go back and watch those. There was definitely some, inner crossing information in between some of the piles today. So I'm glad you were here today. I hope to see you in a future reading. Bye.